proceeding a nasty-ass chest day to be followed up by a reasonably pumped arm day is back. Back in between chest and arms, kind of, well, just kind of fucking fits, right? I probably wouldn't love to do arms on the day right before my chest day, because, believe it or not, your arms actually get a pretty reasonable amount of activation on chest. Triceps mainly from all the pressing that you're doing. You got to be a real fucking muscle control whiz to only activate your chest and use absolutely zero triceps. And every time you do some kind of fly, be it like fucking, cables, pec deck, dumbbell, you got some tension being transferred through your bicep. Otherwise your arm would just fucking like hyperextend into nothingness. So after a chest pump, if I sit there and kind of do like a crab, most muscular, my arms are fucking maybe a third of the way to like fully pumped, right? Just from some inadvertent kind of activity. So back before arms, I'm not so concerned with, because I've got I say reasonable. I guess I would really need some kind of like muscle, what would they be? Like probes or sensors or whatever to actually give me a readout of just how much bicep activation I'm getting. But for the most part, it's pretty easy for me to keep my biceps out of the equation when it comes to all this pulling that we're going to be doing later. Now, one thing does help with that, right? AKA some lifting straps. I've definitely noticed a pretty massive reduction in secondary activation of my forearms and my biceps when I throw some straps on. And for that, I recommend it. Frankly, I feel like people don't want to, not everybody of course, but I know a couple of guys where they'll tell me like, I'm not really big into like taking the creatine and the fish oil, and like I've even heard like I don't even like taking pre-workout because I don't want to rely on it. I don't want to. I heard one guy, I don't want to listen to music because what happens if I forget it? And to that I say, so what, man, dude? When I do and this is just from my perspective, of course, you do whatever, but for me, I want to optimize pretty much every fucking pathway there is to making sure that I have badass lifts on the regular. So as such, if it's a back day, I want to make sure I can put all my focus in the back and pretty much nothing else, or at least as much as I can. So throwing some straps on, absolutely perfect. Pre-workout, extra pumped, extra energized, a little bit of extra kind of focus and whatever else, perfect. Slaying on my creatine and all my necessary sort of vitamins and like liver kind of support shit and all sorts of other whatever, perfect. So that's where I'll take the risk. These guys are like, well, if I don't get my pre-workout, I'm gonna have a bad workout. I can't remember if I've ever forgotten pre-workout. I don't think that's ever fucking happened. Maybe twice, but only because I forgot to take a caffeine pill because I was like making my own kind of pre-workout at the time, because I wanted to see if I could somehow like make it extra effective or whatever. But all that's to say, if something's going to improve your gains that fits your sort of situation, go for it. And on a much simpler note, there's pretty easy things you can do to do that, right? Actually go to bed. I might have to make I got to make a little poll. This is the YouTube community questions are actually a really good gauge, as long as you guys are answering them truthfully. But yeah, I better post one later. How many hours of sleep are you guys getting per night? Because if you're running below 6, that's suboptimal, man. I think when people say you need 8, I'm not so strict with it. Maybe I feel like for me, if I'm getting 7 on the regular, that's perfect. Or at least, well, maybe not perfect, but that's pretty solid. I've got a good gauge on my, let's just say, physical output, lift by lift by lift. And if I get any less than that, usually I'll be able to feel it. Now, on a one day, off the cuff sort of basis, like let's say one night I got like fucking 5 hours, that might not hit me too hard. But the issue is fucking, 5 hours per night in perpetuity. That's gonna fucking add up. You're not gonna be able to recover. And if you want to build muscle, recovery is the name of the game. So get some sleep, drink more than 1 liter a day of water, and I'm not insanely picky about the source. I mean, whenever I'm dieting down, I end up slamming like a crazy amount of like diet soda. Like my aspartame intake was fucking off the charts. I didn't notice any immediate, negative effects, but I do think about that. I mean, that is a pretty large amount of just stuff that's completely out of the ecosystem of the regular food chain. But I wouldn't freak. Slam a fucking Coke Zero if you're a little bit parched and you want a sweet treat if you're trying to stay in your deficit. But yeah, man, sleep, hydration, make sure you're properly fed. Hit your protein every day. As long as those 3 things are in order, I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to go bananas on a regular basis. But I think let's just call it there. I'm kind of getting into all sorts of topics here. The caffeine's starting to get me. I feel a little jittery. But plan for back. Pump it up to shit. Pose down. Get back in the car and come home. Perfect plan. Neutral grip. Slightly wider than shoulder width pull downs. Love them. Yeah. 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 Oh yeah. A few more. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Oh my God. Drops. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Let's switch machines. This is kind of an interesting row. It definitely has a, well, what's even a good word to describe it? Like, the strength curve of this machine is such that it's fucking heavier at the bottom and it gets lighter at the top. So I'll be able to get a really good squeeze on top, but it gets fucking heavy down here. So failure may be a little bit more abrupt, but I'm gonna go back and forth, lat focused, upper back kind of trap-ish focused. Probably maybe 1 or 2 more back and forths. So another pull down movement, another row movement. I'll put me close to the end, finish with some pullovers or something. Easy breezy. Oops. All right. All right, come on. Oh my God. One more. Yeesh.
Oh my god. Oh. There you go, drops. Okay. Let's do something lat focused now. This felt really good. I've been totally sleeping on this machine. This is a new fucking staple, goddammit. It really is hard to beat just a classic fucking pull down. So, probably 2 sets here-ish. Move on to another row, back and forth a couple more times. The rate at which my back is getting fatigued and pumped is well within the green zone, so we're coming up onto a good fucking lift. Way too fucking heavy. I thought that was only 200. There we go. There we go. Yeah. 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 Da. Da. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Oh my god.
But like you gotta put them in a corner or something.
Oh, it's oh my god. The intimidation factor of the gym.
Yeah.
What do you think it is now compared to even like 2010? 20%? 20% maybe?
Yeah.
No. No. Yeah. 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 Okay. Oh my god. All right. Time for a row. Holy shit. All right. That was good. But I don't really want to do one more. Let's actually switch to something else. Let's finish with some alternating pull downs. Or no. Pull overs, very different. Yeah. Yeah. One more. Okay. Okay. I think that's the end. Let's find some good lighting. Pose down and scram.
Good lift. Reasonable sets. Something just fell off today. I got a good enough. Well, I lifted much earlier than normal. I just finished this fucking back day at it's 3:40 right now. I was talking for a little bit. Got in here at like I think 2-ish, maybe like 150 or so. But nah, yeah, probably 2-ish. I don't remember. Yeah, something just felt fucking off today. It's I mean like not physically. Like usually I can get a certain amount of hype and like fucking it's almost like your heart starts beating a little quicker before every set. You know, you're playing some kind of music or whatever. And just didn't feel it as much today. I'm not really sure why, but I'm not gonna freak. You know, how many of the last fucking lifts have been all pretty much fucking perfect. So on on rare occasion, there may be something in your fucking mindset or whatever else that you're not really completely aware of that throws you a touch off kilter. But that is no reason not to get a gnarly ass pump, finish your workout well, go home and eat some food and recover. Now that's my only chore. Even though it's 3:40, I'm actually a little bit behind. I'm only, I think, 2,200 calories deep for today, so I'm gonna make sure the post-workout meal is rather large. Yeah, the potatoes and the ground beef have been fucking perfect. So if it's not broke, I'm not gonna fix it. I'm gonna keep slamming those for a little while. Not every meal, of course, but having that kind of stuff in the fridge just makes it quicker. You know, I was talking to somebody, one of my neighbors who's getting a lot of like meal preps kind of sent over, and I like a few of them, so maybe I'll look into that. But so far, I've been kind of fine just having food in the fridge, and if I'm going to be gone from the house for a little bit, either packing stuff up or, you know, potentially stopping somewhere to get some kind of fucking grub. But I'd say there's a really good intro to meal prep, which is, you know, not meal prep by individual meals, but more so just food prep, you know? Like if you're a little bit strapped for time, just cook 2 pounds of ground beef at once, leave them in a Tupperware, scoop as necessary. Right? Make fucking 3 pounds of potatoes, you know, measure out however many you need at any given kind of meal. You know, if you got a kitchen scale, you know how many carbs are in how many ounces. You just got to look it up. Right? And then makes it pretty easy to fucking just put a meal together like that. It can be a little bit more of a chore if you don't have that kind of stuff ready, because you know you need something, and it's an unfortunate reality. But whatever is most easily available is typically what you're gonna aim for food wise. You know, nobody's gonna walk into the cupboard and think to themselves, "Oh man, I would love a treat. Let's make some cream of wheat and some what? I don't know. Whatever." Right? If somebody's creeping around into their pantry, they're just gonna say, "Holy shit, Cheez-Its! I'm gonna have a couple of those." Now, if you're bulking up, not really an issue. I say extra fucking calories. You got some sodium in there as well. I mean, you know, solid. But if you're dieting down, that can be a little bit trickier, right? You're going to want food that you actually want to eat. And I mean want in like a dieting phase kind of context, not want like, oh my god, I would love some cheesecake right now. Because if you don't have it ready, you're gonna grab whatever else you can. I've anybody that's dieted down before, they know the temptation of a pack of a box of fruit snacks sitting in their pantry. They know the temptation of opening up the freezer and telling themselves, I'm just gonna have 2 scoops of ice cream. And then, 30 minutes later, well, today's a refeed. Happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of us. But if you can plan ahead, makes it a little bit easier. That's kind of all I'm trying to say there. So, morning weight this morning. Extra fucking happy. 271.1. That's hefty. That is a lot of pounds. That's fucking the most that I've ever weighed as a morning weight. Now, again, that was kind of a spike for sure. I was probably just holding on to a bit of extra water or whatever else from the night before, plus carbs. But still doesn't take away from the fact that that is new ground. That is new ground being broken into for me. So I'd say within the month, 270 will be the new low, right? Where maybe if I wasn't totally on my game calorie intake wise that day, I'll have to wake up and say, oh crap, I'm only 270. Shit, I was 275 yesterday. And then, fuck, man, 280 by Christmas? I might be selling myself short. That was kind of a milestone I wanted to hit, but that doesn't have to be the end goal. The end goal isn't actually even a number. It's really just for as long as I can gain weight, that's what I'm trying to do. So that'll probably, just by guessing, which maybe not, maybe I'll just keep fucking, growing to infinity. Likelihood of that, very low, but still. So the plan is, as long as I'm gaining weight, keep bulking, keep eating in the calorie surplus, increase that calorie surplus as time goes on. And then I foresee around New Year's time, I'm going to have to tell myself, all right, you're probably about as heavy as you're going to get. Getting down enough food to continue growing, it's just not fucking happening. And that's my cue to start peeling down. And I'm getting excited to fucking diet. The first dieting phase of 2025 for me, I'm getting excited about it. Because even though I can accept the fact that if I'm trying to bulk up, it's going to come at the cost of some added body fat. So you're not going to be so covered in fucking striations and veins and whatever else. But it doesn't mean I'm not excited about them. That'll be really cool. But you got to do the grunt work before you get to finish it off, right? You got to finish the chassis and the fucking engine and everything else before you throw the paint job on and fucking shine that thing up. So that's kind of my thought process. And I'm not going to try to pretend that I know exactly what other people want to do with their lives or anything. But I feel like there's a kind of trap that people can fall into when it comes to working out once you've made a certain amount of gains. And that trap is just trying to stay impressive looking all the time. And by impressive looking, I mean lean. I mean having fucking chest striations, having a couple of veins floating around. I don't mean like show-ready bodybuilder lean, but like, staying 8% year-round, which is very maintainable. If you got a pretty muscular build, let's say you're like a lean 180, you can keep that up fucking indefinitely, right? I mean, if that's somebody's end goal, dude, good for you. But the issue is, I kind of feel like there's a lot of guys floating around that 180, 190 mark, whatever. They're reasonably lean, right? I mean, they've got some veins. When they're pumped up, you can see their forearms and everything else. But pushing past that limit of kind of gaining, because I mean, if you're a 160-pound dude as like a high school freshman, that's kind of a good example, because that's sort of what I'm thinking of for me. And then over the course of the next few years, you start working out, you start getting into it, you're actually training pretty hard, you're eating enough protein, then you're just going to gain muscle for a bit. Like, you don't even have to be seriously bulking. Just by eating enough to fucking fuel your training, get a good amount of rest, hit your protein, of course. Saying that again because I want to put some emphasis on it. But you're just going to grow. The problem is you're not going to grow forever. There's kind of a limit to main gaining, which can be seen pretty easily because it's just a fucking system of diminishing returns, you know? So when I think of the process of muscular development, for the most part, 2 years, 3 years of main gaining, solid. Honestly, probably no need to do a crazy bulk because you don't need to put on a bunch of extra body fat to try to make any more gains. You're already growing. You're building muscle already. There's no need to add the extra factor of having to diet down because you did like a 6-month bulk. The issue is after those 3 years-ish, I feel like your main gaining approach is just not going to work. You know, it's going to slow down. So that's where I feel like adding an extra variable of a large calorie surplus, now large enough to, you know, gain weight steadily over time, is going to push you past the threshold of main gaining, and then you'll actually continue to fucking, you know, gain muscle. But then you got to deal with dieting down afterwards. But so getting back to kind of what I was saying there, I almost forgot. I think there's a lot of guys who have reached that 2-year, 3-year kind of level where they're not really making any more gains. They're plateaued and they're just kind of staying exactly where they are. Now, like I said, if that's where someone wants to be, then that's perfect. But if you want to be bigger, if you want to continue to make gains, then it is going to come at the cost of potentially doing a bulking phase and having to get a little bit more body fat on your frame. Now, some people are fucking deathly afraid of that. The body dysmorphia is quite real. Now, I'm definitely not going to say that I'm not, or that I'm immune or anything. But you know, as much as I like floating around being lean, if my if my end goal is that I want to be bigger, then all right, sure, I was lean for a little while. I've reset my appetite. I've my insulin sensitivity and everything else. I just took off a bunch of the body fat I put on for the last 6 months of bulking. I want to be bigger than this. Bulk again. Right? It's like I've got a pretty simple fucking if-then kind of code in my mind. If you are not satisfactorily large when you're lean, bulking phase, dieting phase, repeat. So that's kind of the system where I'm at. But I think a lot of people they're fucking afraid of that, you know, because you look good. If somebody's walking around at a lean 180, dude, that's solid, right? So this is not rhetorical. Maybe you want to stay exactly where you're at now. I mean, getting really big, it comes at a cost, right? You're going to fucking lose some of your athletic ability. You're going to be fucking sweatier. I mean, I've rolled out of, me and a bunch of my buddies went to watch one of the Spider-Verse movies, I think the newest one. And at the end of it, when we all stand up, the fucking theater had leather seats. And my entire fucking backside, shoulders to feet, was like totally drenched in sweat. Oh my god. Now maybe that's just a me thing, but you know, whatever. So yeah, it is worth kind of thinking about, like, you know, do I like exactly where I'm at now? Could be a you don't know what you have until you lose it type situation. But what I'm getting at is I feel like there's a lot of characters that are unwilling to let go of exactly how they look at this current moment for the potential gains of being bigger in the future, right? But the issue with kind of working for a future goal is, for the most part, it's going to come at a cost of your current state. You know, like you don't get the glory of a goddamn what, I don't know, whatever. You don't get to bask in whatever until you've kind of done the work to get there. I don't know why I can't think of a fucking example of that. But, you know, you don't get to be lean until you had to deal with losing your body fat. You don't get to be bulked up until you deal with having to fucking chow down, put your food down, and, you know, actually get into it. So, it's just, that's where I just want to be a little bit more objective and kind of bring up, like, dude, if you're 180 right now, okay, how long have you been 180? 6 months? Are you main gaining? Are you trying to gain muscle slowly over time? All right, well, let's just do some math for you. You gained 0 pounds of muscle in the last 6 months. That means something in your equation is off. which 9 times out of 10 is going to be the caloric intake. So after you feel like you've gained for a little while, maybe time it over winter, springtime. You know, nobody's running around shirtless on the beach during fucking Christmas season. Start chowing down, make a reasonable amount of gains, which you should enjoy. I mean, when you're bulked up, you get fucking crazier pumps. You're going to be a little bit stronger. I feel like you're going to have a bit more endurance in the gym. You're going to sleep like a fucking baby. I know I do when I get a ton of food in me. So it's got its own benefits, but it does have its own drawbacks. That's the cost of no more ab veins for you. So if you know somebody in that predicament who really just has looked the exact same for the last year, or freaking, I mean, in some cases, many years, right? You may have to tip the scale somehow. That's all I gotta say there. But plan for tomorrow. Arms, arms, and maybe like 2 sets of side lateral raises, just for the sake of a marginal shoulder pump. But that's to be determined. Maybe just arms. So I'll see you then.